All right, I don't anticipate a whole bunch of you jumping on here at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Friday, but wanted to preserve this for posterity and to respond directly to the slanders that were put out by Ron and Elliott, particularly Ron on Tuesday's podcast. I was especially tickled by the fact that he intimated that maybe I would listen to the podcast when he and Elliot know damn well that I'm the only one who consistently listens to the podcast. Usually, they just sit down, say what they have to say, and then it goes out into the ether, and they don't care. Whereas I, your faithful host, am always on board to listen to our podcasts and to review to see what we can do better. Clearly, not a priority for Ron and Elliott, as evidenced by the quality of the show. I would usually do the pre-roll. Hell, I'd usually have music going on, except clearly I'm on a phone, and so that's not possible. So for the next, I don't know, half hour, maybe you get to join me as I take the surface streets, heading out to my dad's for the next couple of days as we do manly things. Cutting up trees that are falling down, repairing fences. Who knows? We may go for a horse ride and drinking copious amounts of adult beverages at the end of the day. If you do see the stream suddenly end, please contact the police. I'll largely be on Lake Street between the western suburbs of Chicago and Rockford. So Lake Street turns into US 20. So see a blue Hyundai Santa Fe pulled over on the side of the road, say hi. Anyway, jumping into things. Right off the bat, uh, saying that I require 67% of the talk time when we do an episode. That's just flat out wrong. I require 80%. However, we rarely hit that because I am polite and I prefer not to talk over people. And there's a certain freedom today because I know that I get to make my point without having to worry about Ron in particular stepping on my point. But most importantly, I didn't want that time to go by without completing the assignment that I gave the guys as far as assessing what our respective teams needed to do at the trade deadline. I will save my thoughts for the All-Star game until the three of us are back together on Tuesday night. I can't wait to see what Ron has to say about the swing off. I definitely have thoughts about that and will be happy to share them when we get back together. But on to the assignment. So, what do I think the Cards need to do this year at the trade deadline? I'm actually going to differ from Ron and Elliot and Gene by saying that I actually think that the Cardinals front office owes you Cardinals fans a little bit more than they've given you the last couple of years. I don't think that I've made it a secret at all what I think about the John Mozeliak administration. I think that he's gotten far more credit than he deserves for that World Series, largely living off the work that was done prior to him by Walt Jocketty. And I think that he's lucky that the team is performing as surprisingly well as they have this year. Given that they basically signaled that they were cutting bait and retooling this year, which is as close as we've ever heard a Cardinals team come to admitting that they suck and that they need to improve. I don't think we'll ever see a rebuild in our lifetime. That having been said, given how surprisingly well the Cardinals have played this year, and the fact that they are still in the wild card, and obviously a lot can happen over the next 2 weeks. But I actually think it's incumbent on the Cardinals front office to make the most of this. As has been said previously relating to the Cubs, every season is sacred. And if you have the opportunity to get into the playoffs, you owe it to your fans, but you also owe it to your players to make every effort to get into the playoffs. We saw that with the Cubs last year. They pushed in. It didn't work out. But we did see them make moves that I think Jed Hoyer wasn't planning to make at the beginning of the year. I think that he anticipated that it was going to be one more year of a rebuild, and then they would be where they are this year. But when the team had the opportunity to possibly qualify for a wild card spot, Jed and Carter Hawkins pushed in, and I think that Mo and Heim owe that to you as Cardinals fans and owe it to the players as well, to see what they can make happen. However, what I would not advise and what I don't think should happen is I don't think that the Cards need to. I don't think that they should, I should say, sell off their future to push in for a wild card because let's be realistic, they're probably getting knocked out in the first round of the playoffs anyway. But still, you need to make an effort. And so I think what the approach has to be, and I don't know specifics, but I think that the approach has to be that any move that you can make to improve the team both this year and in the future needs to happen. So that's why I think the Cubs and the Cardinals really, at least if the Cardinals decide to buy, are going to be shopping in different sections of the grocery store. The Cubs are going to be looking, I think, short term, guys who can improve them this year. And they're willing to sacrifice something because they do have a relatively young team, and so they can afford to let some of their prospects go. I don't know that I'm necessarily a fan of that, given the unsurety surrounding Kyle Tucker and the likelihood that the Cubs' biggest trade chips are outfielders. That having been said, as far as the Cardinals go, I think that any moves that they make, and I think probably top of the list if they really want to make anything impactful, obviously, is going to be Nolan Arenado, probably Ryan Helsley. Um, you know, I guess if you can get a bag of baseballs for batting practice for Miles Michaelis and Eric Fetty, then you go ahead and do it. But I think that any moves that they make really should improve them both for this year and in the future. I wouldn't advocate if I was a Cardinals fan or if I was in the front office, I wouldn't advocate for a teardown. But who knows who has influence this year? If it's Heim or if it's Mo, who really ultimately has the final say? Because while Mo is Pomo this year, at the end of the year, it's Heim's team. And you'd be putting him in a really tough spot if you sell off a bunch of prospects in order to push in this year and make his job next year all that much harder. So that's where I am. Now, if things completely go south over the next 2 weeks and it's clear that the Cardinals aren't qualifying, then hell yes, you sell off everything of value at the major league level and you give your players in the minor leagues as much run as you can get them. But again, we've talked about this, ad nauseum. Um, the likelihood of that happening with the Cardinals is probably pretty low because that's just not the Cardinals thing to do. We just don't see them sell off. We don't see them give their youngsters a real opportunity to see what they can do. And so, I'd like to see it on a number of levels. I mean, honestly, one, I want to see the Cardinals suck. I want to see them fall apart and have to do that. But two, I think that it's one of those things where if you're not going to make the playoffs, then you do owe it to your fans to really give them an opportunity to see what the future holds. And Miles Michaelis, Eric Fetty, probably Ryan Helsley, definitely Nolan Arenado, they ain't it. They are not the future for the St. Louis Cardinals. The next time the Cardinals make the playoffs, if it's not this year, they're not going to be on the team. But, and stealing a line from Gene this week, it is very important and generous of the Cardinals to contribute to the Miles Michaelis, Eric Fetty, and Nolan Arenado Family Scholarship Foundations. So, the more they want to do that, the better. All right, moving on to the Cubs. Ron was pretty right. I know he thought that he was entirely right, and I will give him credit. He's pretty right on, but he didn't nail it entirely, at least not from my perspective. I know Elliott really wants the Cubs to get a third baseman. I really don't think it's a priority, especially because the likelihood of getting a third baseman who's going to make an impact and be worth trading for is going to cost a lot. And I think that they have more pressing needs, and Ron nailed it. Their greatest need is in the rotation. and they need two pitchers. Now, they're not going to get a top of the rotation starter, but if they could get somebody who could slot into a two or three, and and the prospect cost wouldn't be too high, that'd be great. Ron mentioned Mitch Keller. I'd love it if they could manage to prime Mitch Keller loose from the Pirates, but I don't see it coming. I think the cost would be prohibitive. And I know that Bob Nutting would love to get the salary off his books, but he's not stupid. He's just greedy. So it's unfortunate the Cubs can't take advantage of that, but you never know. We'll see. But I definitely think they need two starting pitchers. Simply to eat innings, to give the kids in the minors who have already contributed to this season and will continue to contribute this season and into the future, give them a little bit of a break, and to just keep the Cubs in games. And I love Ron's assessment that the Cubs need a ground ball pitcher. Look, when you're playing in front of that defense, you should want every ball on the ground, but that hasn't been the guys that the Cubs have been able to advance to the majors or who they've identified as their most effective people. Now, Justin Steele would have been one of those guys, but obviously he's off the table for this year. We knew Shota Imanaga coming into the season was a fly ball pitcher, so I would love to see the Cubs do precisely what Ron said. Get some guys. Palante would be funny, but we all know that's not going to happen. But it would be funny to see the Cardinals and the Cubs get together on a trade to give the Cubs a better chance at advancing in the playoffs this year. And the Cubs sending somebody to the Cardinals so that he could continue to torture the Cubs for many years, which is exactly why we all know we're not going to see that happen. But Zach Gallen, I don't know how high I am on him. Sandy Alcantara, I just don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze on that one. I think that the Marlins are going to ask for a lot. And as Elliott indicated, his his health history isn't all that great. And so is he really going to be worth what you're going to have to give up to get him from Florida? And I don't know that he is. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that getting another relief arm is more of a priority than third base. And I know that I'm in the minority when it comes to Cubs fans as far as that's concerned. But as Ron said, the rest of the Cubs lineup has been so stacked this year that I think that they can continue to muddle along with Matt Shaw getting the fewest at-bats of anybody in the lineup. You can put him in ninth. He's not going to get a lot of exposure, but you accept that what he's not providing for you at the plate, he is providing on defense. It's almost the reverse of what you were expecting from Pete Armstrong. Coming into this year, you were just hoping that he could be a league average bat, and given the quality of his defense, that he would be, that he would more than carry his weight in the lineup. Right now, I think that that's kind of what you hope for from Matt Shaw. You hope that the defense continues to play the way that it has to this point, and that he gets some valuable hits when the time is called for, but you're not relying on him right now. I haven't given up on Matt Shaw. He's basically got half a year in the majors. It took that long for PCA and for Miguel Amaya, really, to start to lock things in last year and to start to figure things out at the plate. And that's, kind of a little bit of a hope is what did Matt Shaw do with his time off during the All-Star break? And you never know. We may see some changes that hitting team worked on with Shaw. Maybe we see them lock in over the next couple of weeks, and Matt Shaw starts to provide more. That said, even if he goes on a tear, I still leave him in the 9 spot because you just don't want to put that kind of pressure on him. So, honestly, I'd love to see Eugenio Suarez wearing Cubby blue in 2 weeks, but I just don't see it happening because, again, I think the cost is going to end up being prohibitive.
because I think that there's going to be a huge market for him. The Yankees are going to be in on him. I think there are a number of other contenders who are going to be in on Suarez. And I think that given that he's probably the only legitimate third base option, there are a lot of first basemen, a lot of corner infielders are over at first. Not a lot of legitimate third basemen. And so I think that the prices for Eugenio Suarez are insane. And I don't know that Jed is willing to pay what it's going to take. And I certainly don't want to see it. I think that's everything. Can't wait to get back together with the guys on Tuesday and record our reactions to the All-Star game, All-Star exhibition. I think we need to start referring to it as. And then also to set the table for trade deadline because it is less than 2 weeks away. And here's the promise that I will make to you, dear viewers and listeners. I'm going to work on Ron and Elliott. I'm going to advocate that during trade deadline week, we do 2 shows. We keep our usual Tuesday night show, but then we also do one on Thursday. Since that Thursday is July 31st, it'll be trade deadline day, we'll be able to have a reaction show. Because I anticipate that both of our teams may play prominent roles. So that's it. You got yourselves, about 15 minutes, even less. Because you see, when allowed to complete a thought, when not rudely interrupted by my co-hosts, I'm able to be cogent. I'm able to get to the point. And I don't have to use all of the filler words that you normally hear from me as I'm trying to convince them, because the only person I have to convince myself, and obviously. So, if you got your share of triple word scores and Scrabble and got your fill of me today, then please do hit the like and subscribe button. We're on all of the platforms. Obviously, I don't have the read in front of me, but you know the usual. I'll be back on Tuesday with the guys and with a fully fleshed out cold open introduction and closing. And obviously, we'll have the usual stellar content that you have come to expect from the Team Rivals podcast. So that's all I got for you today. Mission accomplished, assignment complete. I can't wait to hear what Ron has to say about it, especially because it's mostly. But that's kind of like being mostly dead in The Princess Bride. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see you next week.